residents spending nights on the roofs of their homes.
The old and frail and terribly scared are still being brought to safety in their thousands. There's a grateful kiss for her rescuers. Many of these elderly folk lived alone with their pets. Others were confined to their wheelchairs and unable to leave themselves. It's okay, they reassure Yevgenia as she clings to them. She's partially blind and clearly confused and terrified as she's handed over to her younger relative, who immediately consoles her. We're all out, she tells the octogenarian. We came back for you. Senior UN officials say this humanitarian crisis will have grave and far-reaching consequences. Many of these people left with barely any of their possessions. Their homes are destroyed, and now there's little safe drinking water. They're lucky if they've managed to grab some soggy IDs on the way out. Among those who managed to make it to Kherson city, a group who fled from the Russian-controlled area. Katerina is amongst them, and in her 84 years, she's not experienced anything like this barbarity. The rescued are now extending the same kindness to those still in need. And this group can't quite believe that they've made it. The group is still traumatized, and at least 2 are in their 80s. They're all so relieved and overwhelmed with emotion. The current was so powerful, she says. We barely made it. They were surrounded by Russian troops and tell us of beaches being bombed as they tried to flee to Ukrainian territory, and how the Russian soldiers tried to steal their boats. When we were in Dachi, all our boats had been sunk, she told us, and they were looting our summer houses and our boat engines. They were taking everything. The guys just managed to save our 2 boats. A huge area of the battlefield is now submerged, with levels rising 11 feet in just 24 hours, and no sign of it receding just yet. The Ukrainian president has spoken of enough fresh water now being a real concern. The Russians are still insisting they're not responsible for this catastrophic disaster, as the Ukrainians scramble to save as many creatures, however tiny, as possible. There are dire predictions of just how badly this will hit the country long term. Not just household pets, but their livestock, their farm exports, agricultural stocks will all be badly impacted too. And the consequences of the dam burst is likely to be felt for years to come.
Let's go live now to Kyiv in Ukraine. I'm joined by Rob Potter. He's co-founder of Internet 2.0, who works with the Ukrainian government. Rob, thanks for your time. As if Ukraine needed anything further to cause torment to its people, but after so many months of Russian bombardment, now this, and we're talking for scale, one of the biggest reservoirs in the world. It's a huge humanitarian problem.
Yes, there's thousands of people that have had to flee their homes on both banks of the Dnipro River. Russia has been targeting Ukrainian energy infrastructure for more than 7 months now. And now they're claiming that they didn't do this one because of the sheer amount of destruction that's happened. This will have a significant disruptive effect on life in the Kherson region and Crimea. It has flooded frontline positions of both sides of the militaries, but its main aim seems to be to create more distance between the Ukrainian armed forces, which are expected to be undertaking attacks on Russian forces at the moment, to give them more space so that the Russians can more easily defend the territory that they've captured and are occupying in Ukraine.
And we can see from those images the enormous amount of water, the damage that's been done. Villages basically just destroyed as we saw the evacuations, people having to scramble to be evacuated, the elderly. This tragedy just gets worse and worse.
That's right. There's thousands of new people in Kyiv at the moment, and many thousands more in Kherson who have fled the floods. This was actually done by a tactic that was done by the Soviet soldiers during the Second World War. This is a repeat of a tactic that they used to slow down German offensives during the Second World War. So this isn't the first time that this particular set of infrastructure has been targeted in a major conflict. The last time this happened, the Soviets drowned over 100,000 Ukrainian civilians. However, this time the numbers will be much lower because a lot of people had already evacuated this area because it's a frontline zone. And so most of the people who were still there were those too old or without means to really evacuate, or have been living under Russian occupation and have now used this as an opportunity to flee into Ukrainian territory.